It's happened again. And by again, I do actually mean 3 years ago, and by the word it's, I actually do mean, yes, once again, one of your favourite YouTubers isn't exactly a good bloke. It's becoming a bit of a familiar tale on this platform. You have somebody who you really like, you watch their content on repeat, and oh, suddenly, well, a crime's been committed. Every single time. I swear this happens. Okay, maybe not every time, but it's becoming a bit of a familiar pattern at this point. But yeah. Hello, beautiful people. Now, my friends, YouTube is this wonderful platform where over the years, historically, people have built up these amazing platforms for each other where they've produced wonderful content, which just in general makes my life better, makes your life better, and just makes the world a happier and more fun place to exist in. And with these platforms that so many people out there have created, there are usually 3 major paths for a content creator to go down. The path of success, the path of failure, and of course, the third and final path of... well, prison. Now, the path to success is a pretty easy thing to explain. It's a path of where a creator has absolutely blown up on the platform, but rather than, falling off a cliff or, ending up in a prison cell, they have actually gone on to adapt to this platform, change their content, and change as their audience grow and become different human beings, and that has allowed them to become far more celebrated over the years and just in general be seen as a YouTube titan. But then we move on to path number 2. Now, path number 2, there is absolutely no shame in going down this path, and you could say that I'm on this path. Let's ignore that, but path number 2 is pretty much, yes, falling off into irrelevancy. Now, I'm not going to name any specific content creators, but this is a path where people fail to, adapt their content. They fail to change. I just said that I wasn't going to name anybody. Well, there's some people out there that, they didn't necessarily grow with the platform, and they fell off in a pretty respectable manner because, they didn't want to change who they were, and that's absolutely fine. It's just the modern day of YouTube. But then we move on to, as I said, the third path, and this path, at one point in time, you would think, oh, it isn't that common. Nope. Nowadays, it's becoming... It feels like it's honestly the most popular path right now, and yes, that is prison or just in general losing your career for doing something absolutely horrific. Now, my friends, these possible terrible things can be a whole list of things which I can't say because it's the first 2 minutes of this video, but pretty much those things can lead to things such as being ostracized by the YouTube community, it can lead you to possibly going to jail, and even worse, it could possibly lead to you being in a Sunny V2 video. Or even worse than that, of where it could just be... well, all of those things. And ladies and gentlemen, that does lead us to today's topic of interest, today's person and subject of who we are going to be speaking about, and of course, I'm speaking about Onis... oh, easy mistake. Boyinaband... don't know... Cryaotic.
I don't f***ing care anymore. I'm sorry you feel lesser of me as a person because I can't respond to your emails. There are way too many people to humanly respond to, and if I don't respond to a few of them, they get royally f***ed off and start a riot. That! I apologize for being one person who has flaws of his own. There, it's done. Just hell.
So yes, my friends, that was indeed Cryaotic, and I'm sure at this point most of you know who this guy is. And okay, maybe some of you don't know who he is. I can completely understand that, because to be honest with you, the only YouTuber you should know is yours truly. Because honestly, you should subscribe right now. This is a dog right here. I am using my dog as emotional manipulation to make you subscribe to this YouTube channel, because I'm trying to hit 1 million subscribers. These videos take a lot of time. Please. I'm on my knees. That's what she said. So okay, my friends, if you don't know who he is, that's absolutely fine, because today we are going to be going on a deep dive into this man who was involved in a very peculiar situation in 2020, which, unlike a lot of situations on social media, it just kind of faded off into irrelevance. People just stopped speaking about this thing, and honestly, given the sheer nature of the topic, that was quite surprising to me. It's really strange how nobody really speaks about this anymore, and everybody just kind of ignores it and just, moves on with their days, and that's absolutely fine. But ladies and gentlemen, I'm extremely mentally ill, and I love to speak about terrible things on the internet, and that's exactly what we're going to be doing today. So, without further ado, let's get into this big old deep dive. And ladies and gentlemen, I should probably do my due diligence in saying everything in this video is an allegation which hasn't necessarily been proven in a court of law, and everything I say is a personal opinion based on what people have put out on the internet, given out their screenshots and posts. Obviously, all of these things are allegations which aren't technically proven, but my friends, as I've said in multiple videos now, not being proven to be a terrible person in court doesn't necessarily mean that you're not a terrible person. The law doesn't always reflect morality. Because ladies and gentlemen, if it did, this man would be probably just in a box somewhere in the... no, I can't say that. He'd basically be in prison.
Hey, guys.
But yes, my friends, for the people that do not know who this man is, who is Cryaotic? And I am aware I just said is twice in a sentence and it sounded very weird. And also, if you don't need this part because you already know who he is, you can skip right ahead to this timestamp right here. Let's get into it. Now, my friends, to answer that question, it's going to be pretty simple. We will follow the tactic of a lot of YouTube video essayists by going on to YouTube Wikia and copying everything there. YouTube Wiki pretty much says that Cryaotic is an American YouTuber known for playing video games featuring in genres such as horror games and in particular indie games. So yeah, I guess you could say it's all pretty sus. Sorry about that. And Cryaotic was also very much known for his content creator friendship group, but also collaborations with other small-time content creators like Pewdiepie and also people like Boyinaband. Things start to make sense when you put it like that. But my friends, as I said at the beginning of this video, this is a familiar tale, because despite having the fame, the money, the everything that you could possibly want in life, it wasn't enough. This man, in 2020, faced a plethora of allegations. Not just one allegation, but not just two, but there were so many, like so unbelievably many allegations put towards Cryaotic. This was a situation in 2020 which just absolutely spiraled out of control. It dominated the internet for a very long time, and mainly because the public perception of this guy was pretty much he's a lovely, lovely dude who could seemingly do no wrong, which honestly confuses me because you don't know this guy. I mean, I get it, you liked his YouTube videos, but I personally will never understand building a trusting connection with somebody who literally doesn't publish their face on the internet. But yes, this man was very much loved, and I'm not blaming people for loving him at the time. It's just how it was back in the day on the internet, because as we thought, he hadn't done anything bad until 2020. Now with this, Cryaotic is MIA. He hasn't posted on YouTube in 3 years, and it seems that he's pretty much just left social media in general. His Twitter, his Instagram, his YouTube, it's all pretty much just completely barren at this point, other than his Twitter avi changing at the end of the 2020 to more to come. And ladies and gentlemen, did anything come? No, nothing came at all.
That's what she said.
But yes, ladies and gentlemen, we have gone through who this man is, what happened to him, and now we are actually going to go through the things what I'm sure most of you are actually here for, and thinking, Fraser, why is this taking so long? Well, without further ado, my friends, here are yet again more YouTuber allegations.
I have a weird position on YouTube where I've seen a lot of things from a lot of perspectives and a lot of angles, and something that a lot of people, myself included, so before you start to think you're a f***ing hypocrite, I want you to understand that I'm coming at this from a perspective of someone who genuinely does not like past me, because past me was immature. Past me didn't accept that he could actually be wrong. Past me thought he was infallible. Every single time somebody makes a mistake in the world, people are like, man, I hope nobody finds out. And I think the thing that people realize is that's because from the get-go, we're just taught, man, mistake, better hide it, otherwise I'm going to be in trouble. We forgot to actually teach lessons instead of just getting mad.
Now, my friends, usually when you say something like that, where you try to hide your mistakes, it's usually referring to when you were a kid and you went onto reddit.com and you looked up Rouge the Bat's spicy pics. Maybe it's not. Maybe that's just a unique experience for some. I don't know who, but usually when you say you try to hide your mistakes, it's usually something, well, not criminal. Because honestly, a criminal action isn't a mistake. It's, well, it's a criminal action. And I know, Captain Obvious, but my friends, I really don't think, well, a mistake is necessarily this. Yeah. It's not good. But yes, my friends, the video that I just played to you of Cryaotic speaking to his audience about a mistake that he did was a video that he uploaded in the terrible year of 2020 on June the 20th, where he uploaded a video titled Cryaotic, We Stopped Being Genuine a Long Time Ago. I mean, that's a funny way of putting it. That's a really, really peculiar way of putting it. And this video is pretty historic for Not necessarily any good reasons, but it's definitely historic. But ladies and gentlemen, before you even need to know the context of what's actually in this video, I can't happily tell you, but I can tell you that this video was definitely designed for two specific reasons. To victimize Cryaotic, but also to manipulate his audience into not taking any of the allegations out there about Cryaotic seriously, because the whole purpose of this video was, to be honest, get ahead of the allegations that started to come out about him. Because yes, on the 18th of June 2020, a Twitter post was made by a user where they claimed that they had an experience with a 22-year-old when they themselves were 16, detailing the behavior as grooming and also the allegation that the 22-year-old was messing around their best friend's girlfriend. And ladies and gentlemen, if you didn't realize, it later turned out, I say later, that day it turned out that yes, that post was indeed about Cryaotic. And people were, I guess, seemingly at the time a little bit confused to what was really going on in this situation, and I think Cryaotic saw this and thought, I'm going to get ahead of this, I'm going to try and, I guess, change the narrative, because people were starting to add two and two together, the follow-up happened and stuff like that, people were starting to speak about Cryaotic and this allegation, and I think that's why this very terrible video came out. But ladies and gentlemen, this video didn't really do any favors for Cryaotic whatsoever, because after he uploaded it, people were just even more confused. And my friends, not because they had their perception shattered about this guy, but mainly because of the fact that this video is just so incredibly vague, yet at the same time it's also not, because he does admit to horrific things, but he just says it in a really, really weird way. But yes, ladies and gentlemen, let's go through a YouTuber guide to manipulation. In this case, it's the Cryaotic edition, which honestly, this is probably a bestseller. Like, I know there's the Onision books and all that, but Cryaotic's edition of YouTuber manipulation, it's just honestly, I say it's perfect, but that makes me feel like I'm saying it's good. It's just insane. That's what I'm going to say.
When I was younger, I started this YouTube because I didn't really have a purpose in life. I needed something to give me some kind of purpose. I didn't have any actual confidence. I got my confidence from people telling me, man, you're great. That was immature. Also, doing this, I had never really left my room for so long. I'd grown so much that I didn't realize I was a adult, but I was mentally a child. That is not an excuse, for the record.
Now, firstly, ladies and gentlemen, this is just really setting the tone. You know, get the sub story out. You know, get the tears out, get the waterworks out, because you've got to make them feel bad for you, feel sorry for you, because you can't say first off what you've done, because then they'll think you're a bad person from the get-go, and there's no coming back from that. You've got to manipulate them. You've got to change the perception of what you are being called. And what was he being called again? Oh yeah, a nonce. And also, ladies and gentlemen, can we just focus on the phrase mentally a child? What does that even mean? I think that's one of the most insane excuses I think I've ever heard when it comes to an apology video, an accountability video, if that's what you can call this piece of garbage. Because honestly, it's such an insane thing to say and an insane thing to use as an excuse that I'm genuinely shocked that he looked at this video in the editing software and thought, oh yeah, this is what I'm going to publish to my millions of subscribers. It's just so baffling that this even exists still on the internet. And ladies and gentlemen, even if you do feel mentally a bit younger than you actually are, that's completely fine. You know, you're maybe 26 and you feel like you're still 18. Can completely get it, but that doesn't mean that you can go around committing it doesn't mean you can commit any crimes, not certain crimes. You just can't commit crimes because you feel mentally a bit younger. It's not how it works. But obviously, Cryaotic does know that, and the only reason he's saying that in this video is because, yes, he does have an impressionable young audience, and this is a tactic to pretty much make that audience think that he's not a bad guy, and just in general to feel a bit sorry for him. But yes, at this point of the video, he's pretty much established the waterworks, the sob story, get the people feeling bad for them, and you know, a few facilities very much fell for this, and then with that, it led us to the information dump. And what was that dump? Well, the fact that he cheated on his girlfriend with a minor.
I've always felt disingenuine because I was never open with people about things, because I was always hiding things. I was never able to be genuine with people anymore after the fact that I cheated on my girlfriend with people who I didn't realize were even underage in the first place.
Pardon? Can you repeat that? Someone just, I feel like someone just came out, and I don't know, I think I was mishearing it. Can you just repeat that?
The fact that I cheated on my girlfriend with people who I didn't realize were even underage in the first place.
Can you repeat that again? Because I'm sure I'm mishearing something there. There's something slipping, and I think I'm just getting it wrong.
I cheated on my girlfriend with people who I didn't realize were even underage in the...
What? One more time? please? Just one more, so maybe it's different?
People who I didn't realize were even underage in the first place.
Well, yeah, as you can see, basically he just slipped in really quickly that he is indeed committing or has committed a crime. And sure, maybe there's some missing context in this video that we're going to get in. Well, again, even that wouldn't matter because, my friends, when you've messaged minors on the internet, context doesn't necessarily help you because you have still broken the law, and a very, very bad one at that. But yeah, let's continue with this manipulative, terrible video because, my friends, this video is honestly insane, and I have actually reacted to the full thing in a second channel video. Yes, I'm plugging, but that is a very honest reaction because it was more insane than I actually realized it could have been.
So yes, I'm sorry. But I promise you I'm not that same f***ing person anymore. And I resent that person who I was.
Yeah, I mean, Savile probably said the same thing, mate. It doesn't mean I'd be any less shocked to see you in the US Virgin Islands. I mean, fellas, it's very clear to me that the whole reason that this video was made was just in general to change the perception and understanding of what's going on in this video and just kind of skew it into the favor of Cryaotic before, I guess, everything absolutely blew up into this nuclear situation, which obviously it did not do. In fact, I think it did the exact opposite of that. Looking at the description, he literally admits to these things, but his defense is, I didn't physically do anything. It was all online. Cryaotic, that's still a crime. That's still going to get you in a prison cell. But obviously, the whole point of him saying that is because, while people know about the crime, he's kind of got to do as much damage control as possible. And maybe some brain-dead, small-minded, or just immature young fans would fall for this because, you know, they're impressionable, they're young, which he probably actually likes. And I think that's pretty evident in the fact that this video actually got thousands and thousands of likes, which is just really disappointing and sad. So yes, ladies and gentlemen, a lot of people were just utterly confused at this moment of time because pretty much, firstly, their perception of this guy had been absolutely shattered into a billion pieces, but number two, it was a bit confusing when he slipped in there that, you know, he cheated on his girlfriend with a minor and also confirmed it in the description. But thirdly, they were just confused at the fact that the video was a complete, utter rambling mess. But my friends, we're not actually done with this video. No. It's only starting to begin, ladies and gentlemen, because we then move into his apology.
Sorry that I was hiding who I was this whole time. I've never wanted to be on a pedestal in the first place. And I think that's because I was always afraid of people knowing who I really was.
What? A nonce?
There's some lonely guy who genuinely is someone who would be considered a basement dweller, but luckily I live in Florida, so there's no basements. It took me 31 years. It took me until 10 minutes before my 31st birthday to realize I was going in a constant projection of nothing because I never really accepted who I was. I always made excuses, and I'm sorry for that. I'm not going to say any more because this is not some pity party.
It's not a pity party, he says in a video where he's been wallowing in self-pity for 4 minutes straight despite he's meant to be actually addressing serious allegations from the people who he's most likely severely affected.
This is more addressing the things that need to be said, more so than giving people their dirt or tea or whatever they need. I just feel like people need to be able to express themselves, be them victims or not. I always consider myself a victim because of the way I was raised.
Oh yeah. Make sure to get in the "my parents didn't treat me well" story, because, you know, that's relatable to the teenage audience. They'll see that and think, wow, he's just like me. No, he's not like you. You're a teenager. He's in his 30s. So yes, ladies and gentlemen, I'm sure at this point anyway, half of you have already seen the video that Cryaotic uploaded, but I really thought that we just needed to go through it to truly get a representation of how utterly pathetic and manipulative this guy is. The video is such a pathetic attempt at trying to, I guess, change the record, change how people receive him at that moment of time. But not only that, he then tried to victimize himself. He tries to say that he sees himself to be a victim. It's just so embarrassing. Get a grip. I mean, I see why the guy completely left social media and just gave up, because nobody's coming back from a video this terrible. I could end the video right here and you could be like, well, Fraser, lovely stuff, see you later. But obviously, there's a lot more to it. And yes, ladies and gentlemen, as you can probably guess, this is where the avalanche starts to begin. This is where not just one allegation came out, but multiple. It seemed over a period of time of just a few short days of when the first allegation came out about Cryaotic, so many people came out detailing their personal experience with this guy, this adult, whilst they were children. They detailed some horrific things out there. There were so many DMs, which I'm not going to specifically show you because I don't want this video to get age restricted and shown to absolutely nobody. But my friends, you can trust me in knowing that this was terrible, and you can go look at the DMs yourself. They are very easy to find, but trust me, they're not good. And shortly after this, Cryaotic did actually come out and try to do more damage control with a tweet saying saying that his recent videos and tweets have been impulsive and imprecise, and he asked for a few more days and to keep an open mind. An open mind about what? Mate, there's no open mind which is going to make me change my mind that you've broken the law. He then goes on to say, I just want you to gather an accurate understanding of me. A further understanding that Cryaotic cheated on his girlfriend with a minor. But honestly, the only understanding we really got from this was the understanding that there was far more allegations than we actually realised. In fact, I think a lot of people watching this right now probably don't realise how much out there is about this guy. It wasn't just one situation. There were so many. And I said I wasn't going to show DMs, but just look at this, for example, of Cryaotic's ex Cheyenne posting screenshots of Cryaotic telling her that he loves her when she was 16 and he was 22 years old. Because yes, not only did he interact with this person romantically when she was a minor, but he also cheated on her with minors. You're really hitting it out the park now, buddy. But ladies and gentlemen, and as you can probably imagine, this is just the tip of the iceberg, because shortly after this, Cryaotic was once again exposed for underage alleged interactions with minors, including his moderator called Ocean, who apparently at the time of their interactions was 16. And you can see in these DMs, Cryaotic was really worried about his relationship being exposed between you and I, referring to him and Ocean, because he didn't want that exposed to Shay, his girlfriend. And it just shows how deep this goes, how many situations, and just in general, how confident this guy was that he thought he would get away with all of this. It's actually quite unbelievable. Like, maybe one time that's not that shocking, but the amount of allegations here, it is just unbelievable. I called this thing an iceberg, but honestly, I don't think that's a fitting description because it's much bigger than an iceberg. If this was an iceberg, mate, it wouldn't be wiping out the Titanic, it would be wiping out Great Britain. Maybe that's a good plan. But then, ladies and gentlemen, it just seems to just never end, because Cryaotic's Tumblr was then exposed. And I know, when somebody's Tumblr gets exposed, it's only going to end up being absolutely horrific. Now, the main post that got leaked from the Tumblr was somebody saying, "Cry, call me on Skype and I'll show you my..." And Cryaotic replied saying, "I laughed a lot, then I realised this is a terrible idea because you're 15 and I'm 23. Now, I don't know if it's a controversial opinion to say, but if a 15-year-old says something like that to you over the internet, you don't reply in any essence. You just block and walk away. There is no need to reply, in my personal opinion." Then there was another post on Tumblr when Cryaotic was actually asked if he was a creep, and he said he's not a creep, he's just trying to make friends. Friends that are still in school. And then there was a bunch of other posts and comments where Cryaotic was just exposed for speaking, in my opinion, very inappropriately to his fans. In my opinion, these sort of interactions aren't the normal interactions you should be having with fans, in particular underage fans. It wasn't like, I don't know, he randomly met somebody and they so happened to be a fan, and you know, the relationship wasn't built on the fact that this person loves their content and they're also above the age of 18. It wasn't that. It was, oh no, he is clearly regularly having some strange interactions with his audience, and I don't think that was inappropriate, and honestly, are red flags. And I really don't understand how for years this man wasn't called out on it. Based on these posts, his public friendships and relationships, it really just kind of seemed that Cryaotic somehow got away with so much weird and creepy behavior, and I guess that comes from the fact he, not only has a bit of a parasocial relationship with his audience, and I usually don't use that phrase, but it's what it seems like to me, but also just from the fact that he is deliberately, in my opinion, built this perfect persona where he couldn't do anything wrong. And as we know, ladies and gentlemen, when somebody does that, they're usually actually the worst of the YouTubers. But my friends, now it's time to go straight back to the original allegation and then move 2 weeks directly ahead of it. At that point of time, things had just become an absolute mess. Every single day, more and more allegations were coming out, and previous experiences with Cryaotic were being leaked and posted all over the internet, and honestly, there was just absolutely no way back for him at this point of time, especially considering multiple victims had actually claimed they had gone to the authorities and were advised to keep quiet, probably because it could do damage to the case if they spoke up about it even more. And since that tweet, I don't think much has really been said about police or FBI involvement. I really don't know the case with that, but I think we can all kind of come to the conclusion that yes, if I really needed to say it, Cryaotic obviously isn't a good dude. I think that's not doing it any justice. He's a terrible, terrible person. But also, my friends, I think it's only right that we speak about Cryaotic's friends and their possible involvement in certain things that we've spoken about in today's video, because that very much is a possibility, and I am aware that a few people are going to come in my comment section and say, why are you ignoring this? Why are you ignoring this? And also the fact that a lot of people out there have called out some of the victims in this situation, saying that their behavior and other things wasn't appropriate. So let's go into that. Because yeah, a lot of people out there were claiming that one of the victims of Cryaotic was actually very abusive towards other people in this situation, but also his friends were being questioned over the fact that they actually knew about Cryaotic's actions before they went public, and they remained friends of him because they wanted clout, meaning that they completely ignored his actions. Now, to be honest with you, I couldn't really find any proof to kind of suggest that, but at the same time, I wouldn't be shocked. Ladies and gentlemen, I have seen some wild things on my time on YouTube, and that would not be the most wild one of them. People will remain friends with terrible people no matter what. Look at Jeffree Star. This man has friends, a lot of them. Look at James Charles. The bloke's doing like collaborations after everything. It's honestly not that shocking if it was true. But as I said, there really isn't much proof to suggest that, other than this really weird tweet from 2019 when somebody clearly states that Cryaotic was cheating on Cheyenne with multiple underage girls, which, I mean, this could either be the guess of the century or, yeah, it might have been an open secret. What I'm going to take from it is some people probably did know about Cryaotic and some people probably didn't, but at the end of the day, I want to focus on Cryaotic in this video. I understand that there are some things which I could go over involving his exes and with his friends and stuff like that, but I really think this video should be solely focused on Cryaotic, because he is the one with the massive platform. He is the one that could come back to the platform and use that platform to do more bad things. So I think right now in this video, we're going to stay on the course of speaking about why this man is terrible and why we need to know about these things and discuss these things. But with all of that, my friends, that moves us into the aftermath. With all the leaked conversations, the anger, the fighting, the debates, and just in general sadness throughout a YouTube community which have definitely been betrayed by somebody they once perceived to be a lovable and just nice guy, where do we go and what has happened to Cryaotic? Well, firstly, my friends, as I've mentioned previously in this video, he's no longer posting on social media, but also he has actually been unpartnered and banned from Twitch. For once, Twitch actually did something good. Well done. But going back to the topic of posting content on social media, there has actually been a bit of a, I guess a little theory, a little Shane Dawson, I shouldn't use that man's name in this type of video, a little theory that Cryaotic is actually posting content on YouTube just under a different name. And honestly, I wouldn't be surprised. The guy's faceless. I mean, he can probably put on a little weird voice if he wanted to and pretend to be somebody else. And yeah, I wouldn't be shocked by that. But honestly, there isn't really any knowledge to back that theory. But knowing how terrible this guy is, I wouldn't be shocked. But personally, I do think Cryaotic has just outright ran from social media. I think he realized that, yeah, he does not have a place to be here anymore. Most of the community are turning against him. And I think, honestly, he's probably just relieved the fact that he didn't go to jail. Because you can say, oh, he lost his platform pretty much. He lost his audience. But he still won. He didn't go to jail. He committed actual crimes, but he did not go to jail. He is the winner here. He is the victorious here, which shouldn't be the case. But sadly it is, just like most of the situations on YouTube. It's been around 3 years since this situation happened, and, you know, maybe he will come back to social media one day, but honestly, I don't really expect that to happen anytime soon. So that moves us on to a more important question. I think the question of why does it keep happening is honestly a question which there are a million different answers to. I always see a lot of people answer this question with the phrase power corrupts, but honestly, I don't know if I can take that as a valid argument. I think if I gave power to like all of my audience, I'd like to believe most of them wouldn't go around committing criminal actions. I don't think power corrupting is honestly a good response or good rebuttal. And honestly, instead of answering this question, I think we should be more focused on how to prevent the question from even needing to be asked. So how do we do that? Well, honestly, I think it comes down to analyzing creepy patterns from influencers. Now, I'm not saying to go around accusing every single influencer you know of anything because they did something a little bit weird. But for example, I'm going to bring up Boyinaband. This is a man who himself faced a lot of allegations out there and to this day still has not even spoken up about it or cleared his name. And he was also, as I mentioned, a good friend of Cryaotic. So, you know, criminals, they like to associate themselves with criminals because it makes themselves feel a little bit better about themselves. And yeah, by law, they're technically not a criminal. That's just my personal opinion. But yeah, somebody like Boyinaband, I think there were a lot of warning signs with this guy, mainly based on his weird interactions with his fans. As you can see from his community post here, which I believe is one of his last ever social media posts on YouTube, he was pretty much asking his audience for advice on whether he should overdose on pills to speed up the process of the pills working. Now, that is a very clear, inappropriate connection to an audience. That is something which I think we should have all seen and said, hey Dave, maybe don't do that. And I think it could indicate that there maybe are some deep underlining things happening. But by us seeing those behaviors and cutting them out instantly rather than allowing them to fester, I think it would actually prevent a lot of things from happening. Yeah, most criminals are going to just do what they want to do anyway because, well, they're criminals. But alas, I think if we did try our best to stop some levels of weird interactions from happening between fans and influencers or just famous people in general, we could maybe stop some bad things from happening. Parasocial relationships is a phrase that I used in this video, but it's also a phrase which is being used a lot throughout social media nowadays, and honestly, I think it's a word and phrase which is used way too much. I think people go very overboard with it, take it too far, and apply it to situations where the context isn't the same as the definition of parasocial relationship. But with Cryaotic, I definitely think it can be used here. I think Cryaotic definitely had a parasocial relationship with his audience, and I very much think that he knew about that and used it to his advantage to get what he wanted from his audience. Not only was Cryaotic clearly uncomfortably close with his audience, but he also had breakdowns in the past where his parasocial relationship with his audience just kind of made him go a little bit loopy, and he actually uploaded a breakdown to his channel where he pretty much had a go at his entire audience for wanting to speak to him.
Hi! Shout out to you! Good! Maybe next time. No. I don't f***ing care anymore. I'm sorry you feel lesser of me as a person because I can't respond to your emails. There are way too many people to humanly respond to, and if I don't respond to a few of them, they get royally off and start a riot. That! I apologize for being one person who has flaws of his own. There, it's done. Just f***ing hell.
Now, strangely, at the time, this video seemed very normal to the general public of Cryaotic's audience, but I mainly think that's due to the fact that at the time of release, his audience were most likely all very young people. And I would not be surprised if most people back in the day didn't see this as a problem because they thought Cryaotic was their friend, their best friend possibly, somebody that they could speak to and have a personal connection with. Now, I'm not saying you can't have a personal connection with your audience, but it's clear that it was a little bit more than that, to the point of where he is getting angry and shouting at the fact that he can't reply to absolutely every single fan. It's very strange and very, honestly, in my opinion, inappropriate. Even if you take away everything we've spoken about today, if somebody did something like this today, I would be a little bit concerned. But of course, my friends, I don't really expect everybody to go out and really work out who's the terrible, awful people behind the scenes in the YouTube scene. I am mainly just saying, if you see something weird, look out for it. For example, look at the people like Jeffree Star and James Charles. These people have managed to still have friendship groups of other influencers, and that to me screams they've probably done some dodgy things themselves. That's the analysis that I'm going to make to kind of either stop these things from happening or just to be prepared for these things to happen in the future. Because no normal, sane human being that hasn't done something bad would remain friends with somebody like James Charles, like Jeffree Star, like Cryaotic. Most people would say, hey, that's a really creepy and terrible thing that you've done and you should probably go to jail. But no, some people choose to associate, and that's mainly probably because they're two peas from the same pod. And just in general, with the guy's series Cry Talks, of where he speaks about, I guess, his mental health issues, his personal stuff going on in his life, I think it just makes me sad that we had something here which was clearly very personal for his audience out there. This was a series where I think a lot of people, I guess, came to for some form of therapeutic experience, but now we know, I guess, in my opinion, this series was only created to, I guess, further establish that personal connection with his audience so he could further take advantage of that in the future. You can say I'm reaching, but honestly, with everything that I've seen and gone through with how he connected with his audience in his own personal way, I really can only think that there was a very obvious reason to why Cryaotic wanted to be so personal and upfront with his audience. Ladies and gentlemen, to conclude this situation, I think we can pretty much say that this is one of the more strange situations on YouTube because there really wasn't a conclusion. It kind of just faded off into existence, like I said at the beginning of this video, and has kind of been forgotten about. Cryaotic, despite despite how he used to have an absolutely massive fandom, doesn't really get referenced or spoken about despite his, collaborations with massive content creators out there. And, I don't think these people should have to come out and speak about Cryaotic. I absolutely don't think that's the case, but I just think it's kind of strange how this was forgotten about and everybody just kind of moved on with their day. Now, honestly, yeah, I can't hope for anything more than that because, people have got jobs, people have got lives. They're not like me, where you have a job of analyzing terrible things on YouTube. Maybe I should just get a job at McDonald's. And that's not me taking a mick out of McDonald's workers, alright? McDonald's workers are the building foundations of society. Without them, we'd just be a mess. So what I'm trying to say here is, yes, it's strange what happened in the situation, it's strange that it got forgotten about, and it's equally as strange that we've never heard if this man either went to jail or what he's actually doing with his life in 2023. But I'm going to end this topic, this situation, by saying, Cryaotic, please, just if you ever think about coming back, don't. You are in my opinion, predator that somehow got away with everything. Ladies and gentlemen, I'm going to end this video by saying I'm genuinely sorry if you feel like I've papered over a lot of things that have happened in this video. As I've said throughout it, I mainly wanted to keep this video solely focused on Cryaotic because he is the subject of interest. He is the main person that has caused the main problems in these situations because, all of these things exist. Yes, you may have quarrels and beefs and problems with certain people in the situation that aren't Cryaotic, but overall, this man is a terrible person, and I really think we should focus on the finer details here of it's worrying that not only does this man still have a platform, but honestly, I'm just concerned that people would actually support this guy if he ever came back to YouTube. Just look at the guy's like ratio on his video where he came out and spoke about these criminal things. It has thousands and thousands of likes, and yes, there are more dislikes, but ultimately 20,000+ people is a lot of people. You put those people in a hall and ladies and gentlemen, you've got a nonce convention. But yes, ladies and gentlemen, with everything we've gone through today, obviously Cryaotic isn't technically in the eyes of the law a criminal. I don't believe that he's in a jail cell right now. I mean, maybe he is, hopefully, but obviously, right now, I have to say he isn't technically a criminal, but in my personal opinion, as I've said multiple times, the law doesn't necessarily reflect morality, and honestly, I would love to know your opinion on this situation, because there's really nothing more I can say other than, yes, I think this guy is a bad dude, and I really hope karma catches up with him. I think that's pretty much it. So yeah, could you please let me know your thoughts down below? Please like this video, because I'm sure there's going to be a few nut jobs in the comment section, and also, please watch the next clip, which is, again, about this situation, but just on my second channel in a live cut-up format. Please do that. Links in the description. It is up next. Thank you very much for coming along to this long video, and the next video is probably going to be even longer because it's an iceberg video, but yeah, thanks for coming along. I don't think I've got anything else to say other than peace out and have a great weekend. Yeah, bye-bye.